Hi, my name is Juho or Juhorse, the current world record holder for Remothered Tormented Fathers any percent and also the 100% category. So this video is a guide on how to speedrun Remothered Tormented Fathers, the any percent category. With the any percent category, it's quite optimized already. So if anyone is interested about the 100% category of the game, you can just ask me and I might make a video out of it. So there's a few things to take note when you're actually starting off with the game. So the speedrun leaderboard is kind of timed by RTA or real-time attack, so it includes the loads as well. So if you have a very good computer, your load times are going to be faster than someone who has a very slow computer or a very bad computer. Secondly, there is a graphics options in the settings. What you're looking for is the shadow quality option. You can either turn it to ultra or low, tweak it to your favor of what strat you may want to use, because it will play a crucial role in one of the glitches in the game. And thirdly, on the leaderboards, there are two platforms, PC and console. I'll mostly be talking about the PC strats and glitches, but for the console runners, I'll also put in a few info as well, considering there are a few strats that can be used and a few strats that can't be used. I'll put timestamps on the screen and in the description of the video to different areas of the speedrun if you're unfamiliar with a specific area. And if you do need more questions, just comment on the video and I'll try to answer as much to my knowledge as I possibly can. Alright, let's get started. So starting off with Prologue, there's nothing much I can talk about other than to just perfect your movement. You're aiming for a 3-minute time just to finish off the prologue of the game. But do remember these two key mechanics in this game? The first mechanic is called dodging. Dodging is when you press F on your keyboard, or the circle button on the PS4 controller, or the B button on the Xbox One controller, and it will push the enemy that is chasing after you aside. I'll talk about the mechanic in detail later on in the guide. The second mechanic is called diversion items. There are placeable items and audio items, but the ones we will be using are throwable items. These items are crucial in the speedrun as they're used to throw at enemies and completing objectives. The maximum amount of items you can pick up is 3, so pick them up and use them wisely. Coming up is Pre-Felton. There's nothing much I can talk about other than to remember to pick up the snow globe on the second floor while running towards the bedroom. It will be used for the later part of the speedrun. Yeah, I want to say this one more time. One time only. Old man ass.
You did not have to.
Hey. Pretty good good compliment. So this is the first manipulable glitch, which is called doors. There are 4 different patterns that you can go for. 2C, 2O, 1C10 bathroom, and 1C10 bedroom. C means closed, while O means open. Depending on what strat you want to go for, each pattern comes with its pros and cons. So how this glitch works is that if you're not looking at either one or both of the doors by just moving your mouse slightly to the right, it will remain closed. However, looking at either one or both of the doors using a camera manipulation by just moving your mouse to the left will open up the doors. You'll be bashing through doors as well, and once a bash has been initiated, Mr. Felton will be coming for you. Mr. Felton's sensitive to sound, so keep an eye on which pattern can and cannot dodge him. Starting off with 2C or 2 doors closed, it is the safest strat, but has more downside than upside. Because the doors are closed, you have to bash through them in order to go in and out of rooms. Bashing through one door takes roughly a second to resume running, and you bash through 2C 3 times. 2 bashes for bathroom and 1 bash for bedroom. But there's an upside. Since this is the safest strat, Mr. Felton is already nearing the bedroom, which means you can use the dodge mechanic when you meet him. That part will be called the 3 item grab part, but I'll talk about it after explaining the other 3 patterns, since there are also patterns to 3 item grab. The next pattern is 1C10 bedroom. The parentheses on bedroom means the bedroom door is open. This is another safe strat, yet difficult to master as it requires you to move the mouse to the bedroom door, getting that specific door to open. It loses 2 seconds because of the bashes on the bathroom door, but saves a second because of the bedroom door being opened. And you can also dodge Mr. Felton on this pattern. So if you can master this pattern, you can save roughly a second than the 2C pattern. The next pattern is 1C10 bathroom. This time, instead of having the bedroom door open, it is the bathroom door which is opened. Since the bathroom door is opened, it saves 2 seconds from getting into the bathroom, but loses a second bashing through the bedroom door. Because you're bashing through the door late, Mr. Felton will rush to the bedroom late, so you cannot dodge him and could take a defense item on the table on the far right or on the chair, whichever to your preference. But do take note on what patterns you can use during 3 item grab. The last pattern is what most runners are using at the moment, which is 2-0, or 2 doors open. As you can see, there is a big upside to this pattern. Since both of the doors are open, you don't have to bash through any of them and it will save roughly 3 seconds. But there is a major downside as Mr. Felton is not around. And you can't dodge Mr. Felton because of energy usage when you're running, which will be explained further later. Similar to 1C10 bathroom, picking up a defense item will be useful for this pattern as well. Now that I've covered doors, I'm going to cover 3 item grab, or TIG. Essentially what TIG is that you're going to the dining area, picking up the plunger, film, and metal cable, then leaving the dining area to do the story's objectives. All while using glitches to your advantage to quicken the game's progression. There's 4 patterns that you can go for: the save strat, the knife strat, the freeze strat, and the god RNG strat. For each of the TIG patterns is linked with doors patterns too. Of the TIG patterns listed, only the mentioned doors patterns can be used for a specific TIG pattern. For example, if I want to use the freeze strat, I can either go for 2 doors closed, 1C10 bedroom, or 1C10 bathroom. Or if I want to be safe, I can use either 2 doors closed or 1C10 bedroom. So that's the general gist of how to use the chart. And we begin with the save strat. The save strat is basically taking 2 hits in the dining area and doing a glitch called slide glitch. A slide glitch is when you're performing an action and an enemy attacks you at the same time. You're freely able to move around while doing the action. It's faster than waiting around, as when you're performing an action, you're not able to move around until the action's done. The strat also requires you to turn your shadow quality to low, as one of the doors can be manipulated to close when opened before. When doing the strat, remember to dodge Mr. Felton before going to the double doors to unlock it. Once unlocked, make your way to the kitchen and pick up the plunger, then to the shelves to take the handle. You can either take it immediately or wait for Mr. Felton to open up the door, then take the handle. Because the next part is performing the glitch and you have to perform it twice. Once the handle's taken, run to the oven door. Put out the inventory when you're on the marker with I on the keyboard, triangle on the PS4 controller, or Y on the Xbox One controller, and making sure you're using the handle on the marker before Mr. Felton hits you. Once hit, you should be able to slide past Mr. Felton and out of the kitchen. Then make your way to the dining room, crouch near the note so that you have a better chance of not being spotted by Mr. Felton, and pick up the note. When putting the note down, make sure to turn around and look down, and wait for Mr. Felton to hit you once more before sliding to the door in front of you. You should be safe from now on and can freely take the film and metal cable before exiting. After taking the metal cable, turn around and exit through the dining room's double doors before exiting through the dining area's double doors to resume completing objectives. When completing objectives, it requires you to dodge Mr. Felton twice before the next part of the run lights out. So do remember to dodge him when he's nearby. The next strat is knife strat. The strat is created by runners Demonic Robots and Daniel Ark, and saves roughly 15 seconds from the save strat. You can use all door patterns, and you do need a defense item, as performing the strat requires you to go into the life or death quick time event, so remember to pick up a knife. And this has extra glitches as compared to the save strat, so if you do want to save more time, you can use this strat. As for the shadow quality option, turn it to ultra, as the door manipulation also comes into play with this strat. Starting out the strat, you need to take an early hit from Mr. Felton before unlocking the double doors. I'll explain on why the early hit is crucial as the strat progresses. Then do the first part of save strat, which is to take the plunger and doing the slide glitch on the oven door. As you make your way towards the note, this is where the knife will come into play. After picking up the note and turning around, Mr. Felton will give you one more hit and you should go into the life or death quick time event. Finish the quick time event and you'll be free from Mr. Felton's wrath. Now turn around and you should be able to pick up the metal cable. Turn back around and you should see the door that's straight ahead open. By having that door opened, it will save a second rather than bashing through the door. Hence why the shadow quality option plays a big role in that specific door's manipulation. After exiting through the opened door, you should be able to take the film in the kitchen very easily. Coming up next is one of the more advanced glitches in the game, and may need some practice to master. What you saw was door skip. It's a glitch where Rosemary teleports to the other side of the locked door without untying the rope, which will lose more time. To do the glitch, stand near the right side of the door at a diagonal angle, roughly a 45-degree angle window. Then move your mouse to the left so that you do not see Rosemary at all. Then slowly move down where you can see the marker and you should teleport around the door while Mr. Felton is in the kitchen. This trick may take a while to master, but once you can successfully pull this glitch off, it will save plenty of time than the safe strat. This glitch can be used on console, so console runners can do this as well. Like the safe strat, you do need to remember to dodge Mr. Felton aside before lights out. The next strat is free strat. The strat is consistently inconsistent and will take many retries to get the pattern right, but it will save roughly 30 seconds from the safe strat and 15 seconds from the nice strat. The free strat is special because there's a very big routing change that requires you to get the metal cable first. It is a really big risk considering how close Mr. Felton will be when you try to pick up the metal cable. At the start, you do not need to pick up a knife and you can just bypass him by just doing the dodge mechanic, but there is an exception to one of the patterns, which is 1C10 bathroom pattern. You can run past him without taking any hits and you do not have to dodge him at all. This is a good thing because you need to distance yourself from Mr. Felton to take the metal cable without him spotting you. After bypassing him, this is where it gets technical. Nearing the doors, you should leave a gap between you and the double doors. I see it by looking at the edge of the table on the right. Then using the keys, she will slide to the door to open it. The reason for the gap is because 1. The marker has a huge hitbox that you can use the key from a distance, which could save a couple of seconds. And 2. You want to be far from Mr. Felton as possible so you can get the metal cable without him catching you. Run towards the note and spam click to get the note. After putting the note down, run to the direction of the metal cable and make sure to hold W and Shift or R1 and up on the analog stick for both controllers. It will remain on run and not on walk. There will also be audio cues to signify where Mr. Felton is at, because he's already in the dining room when you're trying to pick up the metal cable. Here comes the RNG fest. There are 2 parts on this RNG fest. If he's on the left side of the dining table, it's good RNG. If he's on the right side of the dining table, it's bad RNG. The second part of the RNG fest is that if he sees you while trying to get the metal cable, it's bad RNG. If he doesn't see you while trying to get the metal cable, it's good RNG. The reason for that is because even if you can get the metal cable, you do need to get out of the room by bashing through the double doors in order to do a glitch. If you perform this trick correctly, when you bash through the double doors, Mr. Felton will no longer make any footsteps, and he should be frozen in the dining area. Then you can simply take the plunger and the film and exit using door skip. Now that Mr. Felton is frozen in the dining room, you're able to freely do the next 2 objectives without dodging him or getting any hits. It's an RNG dependent strat, but a high risk, high reward scenario. The last strat is God RNG. It is the most inconsistent strat, but will save a couple of seconds from the free strat when getting God RNG. It is a reset heavy strat, as after getting 2 doors open, you need to hear and or see whether Mr. Felton will spawn at the stairs, which is common. The God RNG is when he spawns or walks to the fireplace, which is really rare to get. If achieved, you need to hope and pray you can get all items before Mr. Felton gets to the dining area, because he's still sensitive to sound. I highly recommend not going for the strat, but if you're a madman like me, you can try to grind for it. And that's TIG. Already 2 big speed texts explained in the last 10 minutes, and we've barely reached the halfway point of the game. And assuming you have plumbed the top and attached the metal cable on the grate and the dumbwaiter, the next part of the run is the first RNG dependent area for most of the runners. So this is Lights Out. Lights Out is an area where you can get one of 3 different scenarios, hence RNG dependent. And your task is to get to the first floor circuit breaker, while hoping you can get the good RNG and not the bad RNG. There's 3 scenarios. Mr. Felton walk into the study room, which is the good RNG, Mr. Felton at the tables, which is commonly there, or Mr. Felton at the stairs, which is the bad RNG. Different scenarios also affect on how you're able to pick up the pendulum clock key in the basement after turning on the circuit breaker. The good RNG will save more time because as Mr. Felton reaches to the first floor, he will be beside you at the stairs, whereas Mr. Felton will always be behind you for the other 2 scenarios. Do take a safety note. Remember to pick up a knife or a defense item before Lights Out, as Mr. Felton's slashes are random and could possibly kill you if you're either too close to Mr. Felton or not have a defense item. The next area is the clock key. As you're going to the basement and taking the clock key, do pick up the vase right beside you. It will be used immediately for this next step. When Mr. Felton is running towards you, wait until he's close and throw the vase at him. It will stun him for a few seconds and you can bypass him to go to the dining area to put the clock key on the pendulum clock. You may be asking why I don't dodge him instead. That's because of 1. I do not have enough energy to push him away at this point. And 2, stunning him for a few seconds will help to elongate the time it will take to chase after Rosemary. After picking up the battery from the clock's compartment, you should be able to push Mr. Felton aside for this part. Now you have sufficient energy to push him away, because when you're on a cutscene, it replenishes your energy. This replenishment is used in places where there's cutscenes. So when picking up the clock key, the area is an action and not a cutscene. Therefore, throwing a vase at him is the best option for that scenario. Now that you have both the film and the battery, you should be able to use both items on the projector in the study room. A side note, while bashing through the doors, if you can hear Mr. Felton's grumbles, it means you can pull down the projector screen first, then fix both the film and the battery into the projector. That grumble means he has lost interest in finding you, and you have plenty of time to fix the projector with ease. However, if he does not grumble as you're bashing through the doors, do the projector first, then the screen. It is a safety strat that allows Mr. Felton to stop moving for a while since he has not lost interest in you. Coming up after this QuickTime event is one of the major skips in the game. It's called the Nun Skip. A little warning, console runners cannot do the strat. This is a PC exclusive glitch because the hitboxes for the enemies are fixed on console. This is another skip where you need a lot of practice to master. And we will say goodbye to Mr. Felton after meeting the new enemy, which is the Red Nun. After skipping the Red Nun cutscene, run towards Mr. Felton and take the path that is shown on the video. Now comes the tricky part. When you're near Mr. Felton, and when Mr. Felton shifts his body to a diagonal right, use the dodge mechanic and it should clip Mr. Felton into the door and traps the Red Nun from escaping. Then run towards the bedroom door. As you're nearing the bedroom door, turn around and you should finish the objective from hiding yourself from the Red Nun on the top left of the screen. It's a fast skip that clears the objective easily. If however you do miss the skip, there are 2 backup strats that can be done. You either circle around the study room once, or do a save, then reloading the game with the save state you have. This trick is a one try only skip, and will save roughly 30 to 40 seconds if you have done it right. For console runners, your best option to complete the objective is to follow either one of the 2 backup strats, as it is impossible to do the Red Nun skip on the console. Now that you have completed the objective, you meet another new character, which is Jennifer. After the cutscene of Jennifer climbing up to the attic, the camera will pan to the back of Rosemary, pointing to the bedroom corridor. You can freely move during this camera pan and go nearly halfway across the area, going towards the bedroom. For movement, I press Shift plus S, wait 2 seconds, then press A, S and Shift, wait for Rosemary to appear, and then when the camera pans to her, I press W. This is another place where it needs some practice, and runners tend to have other different methods on how to move Rosemary around without having the camera on her. Entering the bedroom, you pick up the note and try to make a dash to the small portioned area in the room. You will need to pick up an umbrella for the attic hook. As the camera pans to the mess on the floor, you can also move Rosemary around freely. For movement, I simply press Shift, W and D to move diagonally right, and W to go to the marker of the umbrella, picking it up. Afterwards, you exit the bedroom and you need to make your way to the attic hook. But there's a catch. The Red Nun is at the stairs and there is no way for us to avoid her if we go straight towards her, unless we do a detour. The Red Nun is sensitive to scent, so every footstep Rosemary makes, the Red Nun will track its scent and follow, like a canine. Going around her by doing a wrap around the study room will give her an indication that she should follow those footsteps, thus giving us a no-hit area when reaching the attic hook. Simply use the umbrella on the hook and you're free to go up once the cutscene's all done. Now you're at the attic, simply pick up the photo, turn around and go left, and escape using the right path to let Rosemary fall into her demise. And that's Jennifer. Now comes batteries. Your objective is to grab the batteries from Jennifer's remote and make your way to the basement to put the batteries into an electronic ladder without getting attacked by Jennifer and the Red Nun. This route was made by me, but was later improved by runner Ecdysis. The strat requires you to quietly open up the double doors, running towards the tight door nearby and untying the rope. We'll be using this specific door to get out of the dining area and also to get in for the final parts of the game. Then head back to Jennifer's room and grab the remote batteries. It may take some time or little time, depending on Jennifer's RNG, to put the remote down quickly. Once the batteries are taken, simply get out of the room via the wide open doors and bash through the untied door, providing a free space for you to run down to the basement and placing the batteries into the ladder. There is a rare occurrence where the Red Nun will be around the basement stairs, and that's bad RNG. A backup strat would be to pick up the snow globe on the table near the batteries for safety if that happens. And now you got oil, which is for the next part of the game. Now you need to go to the fireplace and review a secret area to get into Celeste's room. But there's a catch again. The red nun is at the stairs and is coming for blood once again. This part has two RNG dependent areas, the energy you have to dodge the red nun away, and where the red nun could be at. A good RNG is when the red nun is nearing the bottom of the stairs and you're able to dodge her into the books at the bottom of the stairs. This is jokingly called the red nun skip 2.0 because you can get the red nun stuck and it saves at least 3 seconds. A bad RNG is when either you don't have enough energy to dodge the red nun away or she's on top of the stairs, both of which have consequences if you do or do not have a defense item and or throwable item. It's a weird RNG fest, but it's doable and manageable. If you're able to bypass her with a dodge at the top of the stairs, when you're near to the fireplace, crouch and spam click the marker until the camera pans towards the fireplace. It's safe and easy to have the red nun not notice you and will let you into the fireplace with ease. Then using the oil for the cart, you're able to review Celeste's room. Coming into Celeste's room, once bashing in and out of the bathroom door, a radio can be heard nearby. Do not pick up the radio up as we're going to deactivate the boss fight. If you do have leftover throwable items, throw them at the 7 mirrors around the room. If there's not enough, there's bricks on the floor that could be picked up and thrown at the mirrors. By deactivating the boss fight, you do not have to encounter it, and not get distracted when throwing your items around. You will know when you hit your last mirror when moss comes out of Rosemary. Or you can save a couple of seconds by opening up the drawer of where the radio is in, throwing a brick onto the last mirror, and moving your mouse down as quickly as possible to turn off the radio. Do remember to fill your inventory with bricks as they will be crucial for the endgame. Mouse will then guide you to the closet and we progress into sewers. Next up is sewers. Similar to Lights Out, this is another RNG fest. And instead of 4 scenarios, you get an extra scenario, totaling 5 scenarios. For the first part of the sewers, you can get between 2 to 6 steps, 2 or 3 being good RNG, 4 being common, and 5 or 6 being bad RNG. Each step takes at least 3 seconds of time loss because of a random cutscene being played when taking the step. Once out of the first part of the sewers, the second part of the sewers will always be 4 steps. So your QTE skills will come into play at this section. We're coming into the wine cellar and Jennifer is in here with a nail gun. We do not want to encounter that because one shot on that nail gun is an insta-kill. Therefore, throwing a brick at the corridor on the right will distract Jennifer from coming into contact with Rosemary, and you can do all the 3 vials with ease. Just remember to pick up the bottle to replace the brick you have thrown. This is a strat that was found by the original router, Joe Gnome. The 3 locations of the valves are easy to memorize once you remember the maze. The first valve is straight ahead as always. When you hit the intersection of the maze, make a U-turn and you should come across the second valve. The last valve is straight ahead as well, and is near the exit of the cellar. And that should cover up the first part of the wine cellar. Now comes the second part of the wine cellar, which is another PC exclusive glitch that can't be done on console. So console runners, I'm very sorry about this. When going into the room, there are 2 cabinets for you to push. Push the metal cabinet first, then the wooden cabinet. By doing so, the key on top of the wooden cabinet will drop instantly and you should be able to escape from the room with ease. The reason for that is, if you push the wooden cabinet first, then the metal cabinet, the key will drop about 10 seconds later and it will be a massive time loss. So reversing the roles will do the trick. And now you have escaped the wine cellar. We're closing into the final areas of the game. This is the first elevator escape, and you need to get into the elevator as quickly as possible. But, as always, the Red Nun is finding you once more, but luckily enough, this will be the last time you'll meet the Red Nun. Remember the bottle we took from the wine cellar? We will be using the bottle for this strat. Once at the top of the stairs, you turn to the right and go to the first door that's close by. Turn around and wait for the Red Nun to run towards you. When she's near, throw a bottle at her and it will stun her. Then you can bypass her and go to the first floor elevator. Just a reminder, if you're on PC, do not use the brick and throw at her. The hitboxes are jank. There's a high chance that the Red Nun will not get stunned when throwing the brick onto her. If you're on console however, you can throw the brick at her as the hitboxes are fixed. Once in the elevator, do remember to spam click both markers as quickly as possible. Not doing that fast enough will bring you to a death scene, which is really bad. The second last section will have a lot of quick time events, so do pay attention to them. When getting out of the elevator, make a left and use the door we have untied the rope from to make your way towards the infirmary, where Gloria will be there. Once you have successfully cleared Gloria, pick up the notes on the table and get out in the infirmary. Do remember to finish up the Moth QuickTime event before escaping. Then when Gloria appears in front of you, walk towards her and you should be good to go for Jennifer or Felton for the very last time. Once in the dining room, press all the markers on the table and finish up the QuickTime event. And now you're heading to the final section of the game, which is the final attic. Get into the elevator to meet Gloria and finish the QuickTime event. After the QuickTime event, stand at the left wall and pull out the crank to crank up the elevator to the attic. Side note, when getting out of the elevator, if the attic's bright, it's because of the shadow quality being low, so it's fine if the game looks as bright as it is. There's 3 important sections to the final attic, so do take note. The first important part is when the camera pans back behind Rosemary, and you can see Gloria creeping around the corner. There are 2 ways to do this part, the safe way and the risky way. The safe way is to turn back and throw a brick at Gloria, then go into the crank to turn and get to the other side. The risky way is to run towards the crank and blindly hit the marker to turn it. This is another hard trick and you need a lot of practice if you do want to save time. If you try to do this trick but it fails, you can simply turn back and throw a brick at her and then turn the crank, but it will lose some seconds. The next 40 seconds will be running towards the next section, which is easier than the other 2 sections. But do remember to pick up a defense item from convenience if you do fail the last section, which could happen. After the crawl comes the next important section. As you're standing up, look towards Gloria and throw an item near her. That will distract her for a while and you can run towards the cards conveniently. Now go towards the tight space and crawl in for the final section. Run forward and Gloria will appear once again. Now use the item you have and throw it directly at her. It will stun her and you can run towards the circuit breaker on the right to turn on the power. If failed however due to janky hitbox, as long as you still have the defense item, you can do the QuickTime event before running towards the circuit breaker, but will lose some seconds along the way. The final part is a 50-second rundown towards the window button, and time will stop when the game goes to a black screen once you hit the button's marker. Alright, time will start really soon. Time! And that's the Remothered Tormented Fathers any % guide. That should cover everything you need to know about the run. If you do want to ask more questions, or want to interact with other runners of the game, there's a Discord link to the Discord server in the description to join the speedrun community. Thanks to runners Jonome, Igdices, Demonic Robots, and Daniel Art for letting me use some of their runs to put into this guide. And thanks to speedrun marathons like ESA and BigJon for letting me showcase this game. I'll be looking forward to more people running this game and the future Remothered games. See ya!